Alright, cadets, look to your left, now look to your right. Half of you won't even survive the end of the year. The parapet is slick, the dragons are ruthless, and weakness is a death sentence. Survival rate is probably 0. Alright, unless of course you're reading by the moonlight. Welcome to Moonlit Manuscripts. Welcome to Moonlit Manuscripts. I'm your host, Melissa N. Moon. And if you've seen our debut episode last week, go ahead and pull up a chair, drink something warm, and hey, if you want to see more, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a single chapter. And we're diving into the book that took Booktop by storm. That's right, we're talking about Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Whether you're like me and you've devoured the book in a single sitting, or researched dragon names, even made a hero's journey video about it, or it's still sitting on your TBR, get ready and settle in. Today, we're taking a peek behind that curtain and figuring out why this book has become such a page-turner. For those who haven't crossed the parapet yet, Fourth Wing introduces us to 20-year-old Violet Sortingale. Violet lived a very quiet life, reading books, studying history, and just trying to survive and making it to the scribes' quadrant. Scribes are those that are scholars that would help the military do their research, bring in more information, and even take notes that would be passed on to future generations. Like I said, she spent most of her time studying that. She lived a life of books and writing and just staying out of the way. But that wasn't enough for her mother. Her mother, who's actually commanding general of Navarre, has plans of her own. Like her siblings before her, Violet is actually forced into the writer's quadrant, the deadliest one of Basgiath War College. Now, here's the thing. Violet herself actually lives with chronic pain, fragile bones, and hypermobile joints. This is a condition that strongly reflects that of ESD, a condition that Rebecca Yarros herself has shared with us that she's actually gone through. She's actually able to bring her real life experience onto the page in a way that's truly admirable. But here's the catch. Dragons don't bond to fragile humans. They incinerate them. And if dragons don't kill you, your classmates will, because survival is imminent for them. However, Yarros never treats Violet's condition as a flaw. In fact, we see Violet adapt, train, and grow stronger as the book progresses, making her one of the most resilient cadets in the quadrant. Speaking of stronger, let me take a second to introduce you to the Shadow Daddy himself, Xaden Royerson. He is the shadow-wielding, ruthless wing leader from the Fourth Wing. Not only that, he's the son of an executed traitor, and Violet's mother is the one who gave the order. Talk about your fatal flaws. So I think it's safe to say that Xaden holding a grudge against her is quite an understatement. And that's why her sister Mia explicitly tells her, whatever you do, at all costs, stay the hell away from Xaden Royerson. Not only is she surrounded by cadets that want her dead, and the fact that her body breaks more easily than most, Violet has to rely on the one thing that nobody in the quadrant actually gave her credit for, her brilliant mind. Thank goodness for books. Now, it's time to break into the heart of the story. What makes Fourth Wing such a page-turner? It really comes back to 3 main pillars. Let's break them down. Number 1, mind over matter. Now, we know the physical toll that Violet has to go through when she entered the quadrant, but what we didn't know was the psychological barriers that she had to break because nobody in her corner believed in her. And the person that doubted her most was her supposed best friend, Dane Athos. Boo! Her supposed childhood best friend and the guy who she wanted to be with eventually, right? He completely infantilizes her and doesn't believe her. Every chance he gets, he's trying to sneak her out of the writer's quadrant into the scribe quadrant, saying that this is too dangerous. You won't survive. We have to get you out of here. Brother, please. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, we also have Jack Barlow, who has zeroed in on Violet because she's tiny, fragile, and he thinks it's easy prey. Now, so what does Violet do when the people who love her the most don't believe in her, and the other one wants to snap her neck? She turns to the best weapon she can, her intellect. And that's exactly what Violet did. Not only did she not sit around and wait for somebody to come rescue her, she started hitting the books and making sure that she understood the mechanics of poisoning people before she even had to fight them. The only person who figured it out was Xaden. Not only did he confront her about it, but he offered to train her to make sure that she actually survives, because what we didn't know at this point was that his survival was contingent on her survival. What this proves is that survival isn't about who can throw the hardest punch, but who can outthink everybody else in the room. Number 2, dragons. Like I said, the stakes couldn't be higher. Dragons don't negotiate, they don't care about human politics. If they deem you worthy, then you become their rider. But if you don't, they think you're unintelligent, uninterested, and weak. Well, you get the picture. The truth is, even up to the last day, Dane was still trying to get her into the scribe quadrant. He didn't believe in her like we said before. And up until then, everybody thought that Violet was going to burn the second she stepped onto the field. Which she wasn't letting happen, right? She's already trained hard. She's worked up to this point. She's poisoned half her crew. Sorry. And she's not going to give up on a whim, right? She's going to see this thing through to the end. But instead, she's chosen by the most powerful, massive-looking, black-scaled Morningstar dragon, who happens to be the biggest, the deadliest, and the most terrifying one out of all of them. Aaron chose her not just because of her physical attributes, which at this point were minuscule. He chose her because of her mind, because of who she was as a person. There was an inciting event that led him to choosing her. Now here's the thing about Terran. He's a mated dragon. And if you're wondering who his mate was, it's this very powerful dragon named Sigel. Sigel wasn't at the threshing that day because she's already bonded to another rider. Now, the rider in question is, you guessed it, Xaden Ryerson. One of the great things about Rebecca Yarros is the amount of research that she puts into the book. Each name for dragons represents a specific thing or a specific signet of their rider. For example, Terran is short for Tenonok, which translates directly to thunder, which is an indication of what Violet's signet is going to be. And Sigel translates to shadow, which is, as you know, Xaden's main signet. Now, what we've all been waiting for, let's get comfy while I pour you a cup of tea. Let's talk about Xaden and Violet's relationship. Now, let me tell you, these two are a walking red flag. Not only did her mother execute her father, every time Violet walks into the room, he wants to kill her. What's a girl to do? So here's where the lore gets good. Sigel and Terran aren't just bonded, they're mated dragons. They share a Because Terran and Sigel are mated, Xaden and Violet actually become tethered to each other mentally, and they can actually hear each other's thoughts. Jeez. Imagine being tossed into an inescapable proximity to the man who wants to end you. I wouldn't want that. Imagine the tension between them becomes a little bit something more. It goes from violent to electric. It starts off as an intense mental game of chess. The other thing was that Xaden only wanted her to survive because, like I said, his survival is contingent on her survival. One of the things about dragons, and that they mention in the books, is that bonded riders in their dragon, if one dies, so does the other. Meaning that if Violet died, more likely than not, Terran died. And if Terran died, Sigel died. And if she did, well, you get the picture. Xaden's like a cat in the background, quietly watching her every move and waiting and hoping that she'll break. But Violet's not going to give him the satisfaction. And look, I'll give you a fair warning. If you picked up this book expecting a mild, sweet, enemies to lovers, nothing spicy, brace yourself, because they turn up the heat to 10. We're talking forced proximity, intense late-night encounters, a telepathic banter between their bond, and scenes that'll have you turning your fan up too high. So across the book talk community, this book has been given a 3 out of 5 in the spice level. It's not pure non-stop erotica from page 1. It's a slow, agonizing burn that builds up to some extremely explicit scenes that'll have you blushing. Beyond the spice, there's a lot more to the relationship that meets the eye, right? It's not just about the fact that he believes in her when nobody else does. He actually pushes her and challenges her to be better and feel more alive than ever before. So ultimately, in my opinion, Fourth Wing delivers on every front, right? It does an amazing job at world building. It builds the tension up in that enemies to lover that I just love so much. And it grounds it all with his protagonist, whose greatest power out of all of them is her resilience and her intelligence. It's fast-paced, it's visceral, and practically impossible to put down. On our official Moonlit Manuscript scale, I'm giving Poor Things 4 out of 5 moons. It's addictive, it's action-packed, and undeniably fun to read at night. Now, I want to hear from you. If you were placed in Basgiath War College, what quadrant would you choose? Would you cross a parapet, or would you join me in the quiet safety of the Scribes Quadrant? And more importantly, who's your favorite dragon? Drop a comment below. So if you enjoyed this flight across Navarre and want to hear more from me, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that like button. It helps other late night readers like you find us in our cozy corner of the internet. Thank you for spending the night with me. Turn off that reading light, get some rest, and as always, keep reading by the moonlight. Bye!